All right. Hi, and welcome to The Mind of a Skeptical Leftist. My name is Cory Johnson. I'm your host, and today I am joined by. How do you want to be introduced? Kirstin?
Sure, sure. That's my name.
Yeah. I don't know. Some people, they don't like their last name being on the internet or whatever. So,
Yeah,
or they have aliases or AKAs. So that's all good.
yeah.
Um, so we've known each other for quite a while, but not really well over the last 20 years or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, um, we both grew up in the same shithole town, but
Yep.
both ended up, I would say, probably pretty far to the left compared to our, the rest of the people we grew up with.
Mm-hmm.
So what is your political identity?
I I vote for the NDP, right? That's the closest I can get. To me, I don't really like I would like to see it all burn to the ground, personally. I don't see a purpose for it at this point anymore because it's just being so corrupted and co-opted by consumerism, right? And
Yeah.
especially now, with what our world is like with the radicalization of people, no, this isn't working anymore. But my political identity is, I think my taxes should pay for people, not profit. I want every person around me to have their basic needs met first, absolutely first, before worrying about tax breaks for giant corporations. That's completely different than tax breaks for small businesses, because the small businesses are the people around me, right? And that's what's driving our economy, not the freaking stock. Can I swear on here? Because
Oh yeah.
I'm going to drop F bombs like crazy. I can't talk without saying fuck. So,
Yeah. Same
um,
here.
so that's what I think is valuable first. And I don't care if it's some asshole who never wants to work a job. I just want to make sure he's fed and has a fucking roof over his head so he doesn't rob me or, die or otherwise harm the fabric of society. And that's just, there isn't really a space for that in our politics, right? Like, we've always got to ride the fence and be like, oh well, well, what if a drug addict gets a roof? Wow, that sounds
Oh no.
horrible. Yeah. What if I'm paying for someone that doesn't want to work? I am paying for people that don't want to work.
A
So
lot of them
who
actually.
fucking cares if they're poor? So
Yeah.
I don't want to work either. Working sucks.
Well, especially like I always kind of think of it in terms of how much do I care about the job that I'm doing? And so many of the jobs, we're just doing them because we have to survive. Like, it's not like we're doing things we love to do.
And see, so I'm a little different because I can't do something if I don't care about it. Hence why my camera's angled the way it is. I don't care about the laundry. I know it needs to be done, but I don't care about it. I hate it.
Yeah.
It sucks. And I'm not neurotypical, right? Like, I've been diagnosed with ADD for a long time. I'm watching TikToks and starting to wonder if maybe I'm autistic, that explains a lot of things. And I'm the person that whatever job I'm doing, I'm in with heart and soul, right? It has to matter to me. As soon as it stops mattering to me, I get scared, usually, right? Because I suck. And I'm like, this is dumb. Like, why are we doing this? Ugh.
Yeah.
And then I become a shitty employee. So, fair enough. I don't really deserve a paycheck for sucking, but I kind of do,
Yeah.
I still
You
need to
still
feed my
deserve.
family,
Yeah.
and like, if you don't want me to suck at my job, give me a reason to care about it, right? Like, if you don't give
Yep.
a fuck about me, then why the hell would I care about you? Like, I,
Yep.
I've cycled through many jobs that I've ended up walking away from because I just realized, this is you're nothing to them. Like, they don't care. They will diminish you and take what they can from you, and they don't care how it impacts your life, or like, if you're having a bad time, they're just like, go have a bad time somewhere else. Like, we're
Yeah.
trying to get your labor here, and if you're sobbing on the
Yeah.
bus, that makes people feel weird.
Yeah.
Sorry, it makes
Yeah.
me feel weird too. It sucks. crying in front of people, but I do it all the time. All the
I,
time. I've got everywhere. It's so embarrassing.
that's okay. That's okay. It should be okay.
I'm trying to like reframe it and just be like, you know what? No, it's okay to be vulnerable, and I'm gonna fucking normalize this because we've got a bunch of people walking around here who are just shells who can't express the full range of their humanity because they're 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 broken because they don't think, oh, that's inappropriate to talk about. Why? Like we can talk about anything,
Yeah,
anything.
that's
Nothing is inappropriate, you guys. Maybe talking about, like having sex with children and animals, that's inappropriate. But you know what? We can't pretend it's not there. So we should still be able to talk about it, even if it's just to, condemn it. So
yeah, that's right. We actually do have to talk about even the awful shit on some level, right?
yeah, if not, if anything, we need to almost talk about the awful shit more because we don't talk about it and we're just like, no, that's not real, guys. That's not helping us. Like they make
Yeah.
sculptures about it, and the sculptures aren't like these monkeys. These sculptures are like, look at these fools. So let's not be fools, guys.
That it makes me think of like there's like an idea that there's a pandemic of bad, maybe that's a bad choice of word, but an epidemic of child molestation going on now compared to in the 70s. But I'm not convinced that it is that different because we just nobody talked about it in the 70s. Now you see it more. So the visibility makes it seem like there's more, but
yeah, and like I'm pretty sure there's stats, like I'm not going to look them up or I'll disappear into the internet and it'll be all over for us. But like I'm pretty sure all of our statistics show that those things are happening at lesser and lesser and lesser. And it is because we're shining a light on it, right? But like I've met people who grew up in the 60s and 70s, and those people are fucked up and shit happened to them and they won't talk about it. And when they finally do, they're disasters. They fall apart. They weren't given the tools. They weren't heard, and they're broken people for it. We have people now who have gone through these things and they're talking about it and they're working through it and they're getting better and they're able to uh, like metabolize, for lack of a better word, their
process.
experience and not be effective anymore for it, right? Like they're still damaged, but it doesn't rule their life like it does to the people that were like, well, my dad fucked me and I grew up okay. No, you didn't. You're not okay. You're really messed up, guys.
Yeah, that's it's like I often refer to toxic masculinity because that's something that's so entrenched in that we don't talk about things, and it comes out so much as like rage against vulnerable people and mistreatment of those who don't deserve it.
Mm-hmm.
It's it's a serious problem.
And it's I'm so tired of people only hearing what they want to hear and then being outraged by it, right? Like toxic masculinity doesn't say that all men are bad, right? Like I've had plenty of experience with men, like I've had long-term partners, I have children, like clearly there's been men around me at some point in my life. And there's absolutely days that I'm on like, let's hate all men, right? Because it's cathartic sometimes, whatever. But
For sure.
I don't at all. I really enjoy hanging out with men. I tend to get along with them better. I have more in common with them. And, like I love makeup and dresses also, right? Like I'm a weird girl and other girls don't know how to deal with me, right? So I find it easier to be a weird girl around a guy and they're just like, oh yeah, they're a little bit more accepting of that stuff. Whereas girls are really like we police each other ferociously, right? And but there's absolutely bullshit that a lot of guys get up to that's just like, what's wrong with you, man? Like that's not okay. That's not okay. My children's dad is like, whoa, he's like a walking like this guy. That's what I'm talking about. This guy right here, all these things, that's what I'm talking about. And he's a good man. He has a good heart, but he's not okay, and he's he likes to make racist jokes to my kids, and my kids have been fully radicalized at this point, right? They are not here for it, Dad. Like, it's not funny.
Good.
And they'll just look at him, right? But he like he likes to set these rules. He serves all the kids their food and they have to eat what he gives them. What? No, like they can feed themselves. They're 15 and 10. They don't need you dishing up for them.
For
And
sure.
like consent, dude, like you can't force people to eat. They're allowed to say no to something. But well, I was raised that way and I turned out okay.
No, you
No,
didn't,
yeah.
dude.
No, you really messed up. You really messed up. And he's a walking, like I remember when I was with him, he's a walking anxiety case. Like he's forever like pinching at his fingers. That's his
Okay, yeah.
stim or tick or whatever, right? It's just like stress. And he's got this performance he has to put on all the time. And it's just like, I feel bad for him when I'm not hating his guts because lots of times I'm
Right.
like, ugh. Like,
That's
mostly,
fair though, because
yeah,
that performance is almost, it's so internalized that it's almost a major component of who men are in general.
yeah, and the thing is that he doesn't ever get to be who he is. Like I have some ideas about who he is deep down inside, and I'm sad for him that he's probably never going to get to live them because of the construct he has of who he is and how he's supposed to be in the world. And I
Right.
think that contributes greatly to how he experiences the world and how he behaves in the world. And I feel bad for him. And like we get along, we're friends, whatever, it's fine, right? Like that was a long time ago. We're over it. I liked it when, if the fucking dishwasher breaks, then obviously it's all his fault, right? But that's just like a little fun way for me to, not deal with my own emotions because like I was raised by a man with some heavy duty internalized toxic masculinity as well. And I,
Right.
I soaked it up. Like this girl, her default emotion is rage, right? And then it turns into crying because when I get mad, I cry. And like I have a hard time even knowing what I'm feeling because I'm just pissed off, right? And like, no,
Right.
Kirstin, you're disappointed, you're let down, you're upset, you're hurt. It's more than just pissed off, but that's what
Yeah.
I picked up, and I have it too, right? And I get annoyed if I think a guy's being a pussy, or like, and then I'm
Right.
like,
Right.
no, grow up, Kirstin. Like that's not fair. Don't do that. It's like a constant chatter in my head that I have to check myself that I'm not perpetuating it as well, right? And then you come up against someone and you're like, hey, you don't actually have to be a dickhead. And they're like, yes, I do. You're like, no, I get it. I get it. I understand what you're saying. You don't have to be a dickhead. I'm still going to think you're cool because it's fine. Like,
Right.
I don't,
Yeah. Stop with the performance.
yeah, like you can just be a person, like you can like, oh, all these flowers are gay. No, they're just flowers.
And
And it's
also
okay
being gay is
to like
okay.
something. Yeah. And it's okay to like pretty things. Like
Yeah.
it's if you can't notice something pretty and appreciate it for being pretty, I'm sorry for you. That's sad because there's so many pretty flowers out there and it's cool to
Right.
grow them. And like if you want, like it's okay to want to be surrounded by beauty. Like we are surrounded by beauty. You don't have to be like, oh, it's dumb.
Yeah,
No,
that's
no,
right.
you're dumb. No.
Yeah,
Idiot.
I try to be uh an enlightened guy, but I catch myself constantly like when I meet new other men, I size myself up against them.
Mhm.
It's an instinct that we always like. I'm always on guard about am I as masculine or am I less masculine than this person? Am I
Mhm.
going to have to do, and it's not even a physical altercation. Like I'm not worried about fighting. It's an emotional weird thing, right?
Yeah, I think women do that too. Like we all like women are worse for up downs than men are, right? Like they'll give you the once over and be like, "Oh yeah, I see you. I know who you are." And um, like I live in a really, I was so naive when I was young. Like I didn't know things, and I moved to Stettler, Alberta, which is like this is where during not this one just passed, but the election cycle before, our MLA had you know what a cakewalk is or whatever they're called, where everybody brings a cake and you bid on them or whatever.
Okay.
And he had a bring your wife's pie event. And it was like his meet and greet, but it was bring your wife's pie. And I was like, I don't have a wife. Can I bring my own pie or am I not welcome here? This is where the men folk come to talk, but
Yeah.
it's normalized here. We have like, oh God, these kids, man. Like lots of them are really awesome, but lots of them I'm just like, fuck, you're 18. How are you this backwards? How are you thinking this is
Right.
okay? You're 18 years old. You got your whole life ahead of you, and you're gonna nail yourself down as a racist, sexist asshole at 18. Fucking bravo! Like, good job, mom and dad. You did an excellent job raising this one. He's really gonna be a fucking boon to society. Like, and then their dads are the same way, right? Like,
Right. You know where they get it, eh?
it's conservatism. It's just no,
Yeah, that's right.
no, you're not tough. You're skinny. I weigh more than you. Like I'll fight you, but it's going to be really embarrassing when a 41-year-old woman kicks your ass and then puts a Band-Aid on it after because you're bleeding. Get out of here. Like,
Yeah.
it's and they're like my oldest daughter is she was this is my first experience in like how kids rebel in their teenage years. I
Yep.
raised my kids to be really like I try not to push too much ideology on them, but I just try to set some moral groundwork for them that like you have to give a fuck about other people. And when you raise a kid to have that kind of mindset when they go through their rebellious phase, they hang out with conservative kids and it's awful. And she's come around, but
That sounds awful.
all these kids were her friends, her peers who she grew up with in a really small town. Like we're like 7,000 people, right? Like these are her who she's gone to school with her whole life. There's not really like we're poor. We don't go anywhere. We're not out in the world, right? Like we have chickens for fuck's sakes because we need the protein. So
Right.
like she's fairly isolated and not exposed to a lot, but she's growing up with kids and now they're all graduated and they're out there trying to live in the world. And she's just like, Mom, like what's wrong with them? And I'm like, I know. Should have left a long time ago. I'm sorry, you guys. And they're all like that. Like even my middle daughter is in grade 9 and she's just like, Mom, I hate going to school and it's not she's not having like school avoidance. She doesn't want to go sit there and listen to these fucking 15-year-old tchotchkes fucking suck Trump's dick, like
Oh,
and
Jesus.
they just double down on it. Like what? Like, no, guys, that's not a thing. Like you don't worship fucking Donald Trump for Christ's sakes of all things, but they do. And she's just like, it's uncomfortable to be there. I believe you.
Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't want to be there either.
Yeah. But then she comes home and she won't do her schoolwork when she's at home. She does puzzles instead. So I'm just like, well, you gotta go because you have to do math. Sorry.
You gotta learn it and do it.
I can't teach you. I don't know math. I skipped math too, and here I am now.
Yeah, my son, he's in grade 12 now, and
holy shit, really?
Yeah.
Isn't that weird?
It is super weird.
Yeah.
But I'm always trying to balance the okay, I want him to do better at school and I want him to be at school and doing things the way that he needs to do them to be successful in the society we live in. And also, yeah, go do crimes. Fucking break the law, fight the man.
I really sheltered my kids from who I was. Like I'm still that person. Like steal from Walmart, guys. Like
yeah, that's right.
But also I don't steal from Walmart because that would be so embarrassing to get charged with shoplifting, right? So it's like sanctions that didn't matter to me as a teenager, and I don't tell my kids to steal from Walmart. But I don't know if I would look the other way or not. I would probably try and be like, yeah, so don't be a thief. Also,
you don't want to get caught. Like,
yeah, that's what I tell them. Like, don't get caught. Like Annika, when she was a teenager, was posting shit on her Instagram, like with like to tease and stuff at parties when she was 16. And I was like, don't put that shit up there. Like, it stays up there forever. You're not old enough. And there are people in this town that will judge you for that. And like, that
Yeah.
was, and I might be projecting because that was my experience as a youth, right? Like being held accountable for something I did at 13 and never having it go away. And, but my kids don't know what kind of a rotten little shit I was as a teenager, right? And like in retrospect, I was just a kid, right? I was
Yeah.
having some needs that weren't being met and I was acting out. And um like I try to see that with them, but they're like I don't know how they don't know this because like I smoke, I drink, I don't really smoke weed anymore because once my daughter threw all my pot away and I didn't have a hookup, so I had to dry out for like 5 years, and now it's legal. So now I'll smoke once in a while, but I'm so bad at it now. Like I just instant
Yeah.
like I can't. It's a if I want to sit and stare at a wall for 4 hours, then I will because that's all I'm gonna do. But like
Yeah.
don't they don't I'm like, you guys, your mom was a badass, okay? And they're like, no, you
Yeah.
weren't.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, dare you? How dare you? How dare you? Mom, you wouldn't understand. Oh no, I'm way better than any of you guys ever were or ever will be because you're all a bunch of scaredy cats. But it's not a competition, Kirstin, but I have a competitive spirit and I'm kind of like, how dare you not know the crimes I committed as a youth? How dare you? How dare you?
Well, for reference, I have a very vivid memory of you storming into my apartment and kicking a friend of ours in the face.
I was going to ask you if you remembered that.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That
That.
was, I know. And my kids are like, Steph. They laugh.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm going to knock you guys out if you don't do your chores. And they're like, no, you're not. You're not even going to get off the couch, Mom. And they're right. I'm not. I'm going to threaten them and then I'm going to go have a beer and, you know,
Right. Right.
spread it for fucking 6 hours instead. Like, they
Yeah.
know me. They know me.
Yeah. I was that's one of those things like it was fully warranted.
Yeah. Motherfucker owed me money.
You were in the right. So I was like, and we all burst out laughing. Yeah. Back when we were crime people.
Yeah, when we were badasses.
Yeah.
Annika was like, "You used to sell weed, Mom," and I was like, "I used to fucking make bank selling weed." Like
Right.
that was like the one person that like I had a clientele that wasn't us. And that's
Right.
how I made bank, right? Because those people pay.
Right.
And that was like the one little inch I had that I like was like, okay, and the motherfucker didn't pay up. So I had to prove a point and make a scene. And
Yep.
also that guy needs a kick in the face pretty regularly. Like I still know him. Like we dated actually after that for like a while. And um I'm fond of him. I'd like him. He's a dirtbag, like, and he knows it. Like, he's not gonna come across this and be like, "How dare she say that about me?" He'll be like, "Yeah, I am. Yeah, I am." And like, some people that's how they get by in life, right? Like,
Oh
whatever,
yeah. Yep.
it's fine.
I at this point in my life, I actually have more empathy and like I can converse with people who are quote unquote dirtbags a lot easier than I can with like a conservative business guy. Like like they might
Dirtbags
vote
will talk about stuff, and conservatives will be like, "Well, that's hardly appropriate to ask."
right. Yeah.
And that's
right.
why I'm the same way. I got all sorts of scummy friends, and I'm just like, whatever. Like, I'm not going to judge somebody for doing something that I wouldn't do because why? I don't want somebody judging me. Like
Yeah.
that golden rule, do unto others, like that's one of the ones that stuck. That and what would people think? Those were the two rules I got. And I'm trying really hard to shake the what would people think.
Yeah.
But I am always going to treat people the way I want to be treated. I don't know their story, and I'd much rather have compassion than judgment. And that's not to say that I don't judge the shit out of lots of people, but I I try to correct myself when I do because I don't know. I don't know. And I don't want to be judged for somebody looking in on my life and seeing what I'm doing and being like, oh, yeah, I'm a good person and I'm doing the best I can. And that's all I can expect from anybody. And like most of the people I know who are scumbags, like they're scumbags because life hasn't been good to them.
Yeah,
And
that's right.
like I'm angry too, and life's been decent to me, like
Right.
I like
Yeah.
I've had hardships, but I'm doing okay. I drive a newer vehicle. I've got a roof over my head. Like it's not what my Capricorn ass wants, but it's good enough. We eat good. I smile a lot,
Yeah.
that's it's good. It's good. I'm not in jail. I haven't had I have had a lot of major traumas, but I've survived them all, right? And I've had the support I needed to be able to survive them safely. And I'm not the most mentally healthy person. I got my days, man. Last night I was crying because my Christmas present turned out to be trash. But it like I'm okay. And there's other people who didn't get the same chances I did. And I think of how pissed off about some shit I am. I I can absolutely give them space to have their own feelings for stuff. And I would much rather do that because I just think we're all a little better off if we can see the human in somebody, right? Like
Yeah.
even
Oh
Donald
yeah.
Trump is a human for Christ's sake. Like
Well,
seriously
and
defective and flawed, but he didn't have a good life either, right? Like he was raised by a sociopath and
exactly.
who
Yeah, like I I don't have a lot of empathy for Trump because of the harm that he's perpetuated after the fact, right?
mhm.
But I do understand. Like we do have to be able to acknowledge, yeah, he had a dad that was shitty, and that caused. And he was raised in an environment where he was always, everybody gave him what he wanted without question, and
He
except for
was
his dad,
never
who never
going
gave him
to
approval.
yeah, he was never going to turn out any way other than how he did based on
Exactly.
his early childhood experiences. And that wasn't his responsibility. That wasn't his fault. What he's done with it as an adult, uh, that's his responsibility and that's his fault. But also, like, we can't fault him for absolutely thriving in the system that we live in, right? Like,
Oh yeah, yeah.
on you, but he's not the only one doing it. Like we
No.
applaud that sort of behavior in our culture. We think that's how you get ahead. And
Yeah.
yeah, step on everyone and get what you get. Like, and
Yeah, there's a reason that he was successful, right? He didn't
yeah,
get popular just on his own. Like
yeah,
it's the entire culture says this is what you aspire to be.
mhm.
So,
Yeah, he did exactly what he was supposed to do. And like, good on him for that, like he still sucks. But
yeah,
like,
a lot.
I know lots of people who have like, in general, it seems that the people who have gotten the farthest in life are the ones who behave that way. And
Yeah.
like, I'm super jealous of their multiple homes and their cool cars and their like holidays and stuff. But I don't fault them for being successful. Like, because
Yeah.
I couldn't do it doesn't mean they're I'm better or they're better. Like it is what it is.
Yeah. It would be nice if we had a system that valued caring about other people. Like that would be the ideal system. Like I got into a big argument with my dad a few months ago about like he says like socialism can never work because humans are too greedy. And I said, what shouldn't the system be designed in such a way that it counteracts that, like rather than builds that up as the thing to do?
Yeah, the aspiration. I
Yeah.
was raised by really socialist parents. Like
Oh,
my
right.
parents, my dad worked for SaskTel, my mom worked for SaskTel, and then she went to school to become an accountant. They were both sat on boards my whole life. They were both union members. They both were active in the political scene. They canvassed and they worked elections and stuff like that. And I like I was so naive when I moved to Alberta. I understood that Alberta was a conservative province, but I didn't really know what that meant. I was like 23 or 24, right? And we're still quite stupid at that age, like
Yep.
and I I didn't realize what it meant and I just kind of thought everyone thought that workers should have rights and that everyone thought that we should, have public
Yeah.
schools that are useful and good for us, like, and that we need to press our representatives to make sure that we're taken care of by our government because we're paying those fuckers to do so. Like, we're not
Yeah.
paying them so they get rich. We're not paying them so that Amazon can set up a huge mega center and, like, employ thousands of people that have to work jobs to make ends meet. That's not why we
Right.
pay taxes. We pay taxes so that our roads don't fall apart and our kids can go to school and, like, I can get stitches. Like, that's what it's
Yeah.
supposed to be for.
Yeah.
And like, there's people that don't believe that. And I'm just like, well, what do you don't want to pay taxes? Like, okay, I can kind of understand that, but like, who builds the roads then? Like, look at
Yeah.
in Alberta. It's so weird that it's only just being caught onto now, but like 10 years ago when Klein, before he left, he deregulated all of our utilities, right?
Okay.
So the house I live in, I've lived here for 12 years. When I moved in, he was still the premier, and my power bill was $40 a month, right? And my gas, well, it'd get up to like 125 in the wintertime, right? Tiny little shitty little house, right? My furnace is older than I am, and I just about have all the windows replaced, but like, it's a 1950 post-war bungalow, right? Like, it's not any old hell, but not it's 700 square feet. Like, it's not like I've got all this room to heat, and I've got so many animals and kids that, like, we keep our house pretty warm. It's fine, right? And I can't run a lot of power in here because I have it needs to be rewired, so everything's in a series. So like, if you are watching TV and you turn the toaster on and then somebody plugs their phone in to charge, it just goes ooh, and everything
Oh
shuts
no.
down. So like, we got to really be careful about how we delegate our electronics. So like, nothing's really changed in my consumption, but I just got my last bill and I didn't pay it in December because Christmas or whatever, right? And I have student loans coming in this month because I'm a student right now. So I was like, man, fuck it, I'll just pay it all off, right? I'll just pay for
Right.
Christmas, get through. And I have a combined power and gas bill, and it's $1,375.
Oof.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. And you know what my power consumption was? My actual usage is $44. But all the rest of that is deregulated. And now in Alberta, all these people are outraged at how can they do this to us? Well, they've been how did you not notice? They've been doing this for 10 years. Like,
Right.
my like it's steadily increasing. And why are we paying these fees? But they've all attributed it to the carbon tax. No, honey, no. That's not what it is. Carbon
No.
tax accounted for $7 out of that 1,300. The rest of it, and then I had $150 combined gas and electricity usage. The rest of that is going straight into the pockets of some asshole in corporate America that has figured out he can charge me 3 times to, charge me. Like, he's like,
Yeah.
and you guys asked for that. You thought this was a great thing, greatest thing that could ever happen, and now you're paying for it, and you're mad at the NDP, and like, they didn't do it. They actually tried to reverse it, and you all freaked out that they're ruining the world and they're trying to interfere in the free market. This is the free
Yeah.
market, guys. Like,
Yeah.
it's working. The system is working exactly the way it was designed, and they just want to be angry without understanding why, because they vote blue, and that's it. Like, they don't know why they vote blue. They just do because that's the Alberta way. Well,
Yeah, they picked their team a long time ago, and that's just where it is.
well, and like, the weirdest thing to me is like, you guys were the ones that started the Socialist Party in Canada, right? Do you know that? Like, it started here. It didn't start in Saskatchewan. It started in Alberta and it spread to Saskatchewan. Like, Tommy Douglas gets the credit for it, but it was the CF that started in
Yeah.
freaking Alberta. He joined and then he rebranded it. Like, it was you guys started it. And then you just, like, what? This is what your grandparents wanted, And if you talk to them, like, I used to work at the Legion until I got bored of it. And it's a Legion, right? It's all old people, and
Right.
it's the people that get piled up at the Legion on Friday night for the meat draw, right? Um,
Right.
So, like, I adored them. They're funny and cool people, right? They tip like shit, but whatever. They don't understand that. Will you take that nickel and you save that for something special, honey? I will. I will.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Toss.
You're putting my kids through school.
Yeah.
Um, they're they're not. It's not even that they hold conservative values. Like you listen to them talk, and because that's my favorite thing to do is to trick conservatives into agreeing to socialist policies. Like I talk
Right.
to everybody about politics everywhere I go, all the time. I'm like,
That's good.
right? Like I'm like, we've got all this crime here. Wouldn't it be better if we brought these people into our communities and they faced the people that they committed the crime against and decided amongst each other how they were going to work it out? Wouldn't that be better? That we wouldn't have to pay for it. And they're like, yeah, that's a great idea, isn't it? Though, isn't it? Isn't it? They they all like not all of them. There's a lot of them that are total cunts, whatever. But like
Right.
so many of them think that they're angry. Like, well, why are we having these wait times? Why isn't our government paying our tax dollars to hire more staff and build more hospitals? I don't know. That is bullshit, isn't it? Our roads are going to trash. Yeah. Fucking teachers are worked pretty hard. We should have more teachers in more schools. You're right.
Hmm.
You're right.
I wonder
That's
why that
totally
is.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're right. It does cost a lot to put a kid through university right now. They should do something about that.
Yep. They should.
And but like that's the values they hold. And then they go and they're like, blue. No, well, when you're so outraged over Penny right now. Why? Like that's what you voted for. Like, what did
Yeah.
you think was going to happen? Like, the guy's a long history of being an absolute twat that's done awful things all over the world, and he's actually actively worked against Alberta in several instances. How are you confused by this? Like, well, I didn't
Yeah.
know he was going to be like that. Why? Because you're what? Because your racist dad that Kenny was the best choice. Like, he's Randy for Christ's sakes. He looks like Randy. That alone should disqualify him. He looks like a character from a series mocking low-income people who don't have an education, and they're
Right.
like, yeah, let's get him a cheeseburger. He came to our town and had a barbecue, and everybody had cheeseburgers, and they were all like, haha, we're in on the joke. No, I don't think you get it. Guys, not quite what the joke is, but
Yeah, you actually missed what the joke was.
yeah.
That's yeah,
It's bizarre. It's bizarre. And the Trudeau hate, like,
yeah. And I mean, I'm not a fan, but
but yeah, like me neither, right? But like, what has he done that's so bad? Oh, ethics commission. Well, come on, guys. Like that's ethics commissions in Alberta. He just got rid of it completely. You can't break any ethic laws if you don't have an ethics commissioner.
right,
Like
right, yeah,
that's guys. Like, why aren't you outraged about that when you're outraged about this? There's a long history of politicians and grift. Like,
yeah.
not outrageous. That's how he got there in the first place. Like, these
That's kind of their thing.
yeah, and like half of our Alberta politicians were involved in the same or what is it? I can't even remember what it is. I don't care. I don't watch the news. I don't have even. I go on Reddit and argue with people on Facebook, and that's how I get my information about the world. So
Yeah,
whatever.
well, that's all right.
Yeah.
Watching the news is overrated anyway because it's all sound bites and like quick clips about what's going on.
Yeah.
Like I tried to convince my dad lately, don't watch the news or listen to the news on the radio. Read it. If you want to know something, you have to read it.
Yeah, I had a Maclean's magazine subscription for the longest time. I got a lot of information from that, and Maclean's is pretty right wing. I have an Economist subscription right now, just because like there's a lot of shit to read in there, and it's pretty white. It's called the Economist, for Christ's sakes, but it still has tons of really valuable information in it. And that's what I read, and I go on Reddit forums and read the AP news that comes up, and then I read what people are experiencing in the comments, and that I feel like that gives me a much broader worldview, right? Like, you see more perspectives that way, and how people are. This is how it impacts me. Well, bullshit. This is how it impacts me, and then they call each other names, and politics, and like, like I haven't watched the news in years because it stressed me out, and I was just like, no, I value my peace, and now I'm really avoiding Facebook for the most part because like there's a lot of those people on there that I still gotta know. And I don't really
Yeah.
want to. Like, you're saying all this shit, and I'm like, and maybe I'm wrong for being that way, and I shouldn't judge people by their Facebook posts, but like, yeah, I should, like,
Yeah.
well,
Yeah, I think that's fair.
that's your auntie, Kirstin. She doesn't understand what she's sharing. Then someone should stop her because she's making an ass of herself. And
Yeah.
she's saying some really outrageous stuff that's wrong. And I call her out on it. And then my dad gives me shit for stirring the pot. Well, Dad, I can't just ignore it. Like,
Yeah.
that's how we
Somebody
got to
needs to
this
point it
point.
out, right?
Yeah. And like, oh, was she really attacked? Oh, well, good, because I was attacking her, kind of, right? I'm like, I'm really learning how to be pretty diplomatic in how I'm not as mean anymore, right? Like I used to just be like, oh, you some fuck, and just go for it. But now I'm like, here's some a different perspective, or what about this? Or like I try to question them through it, or like, did you read that post that I had the other night? I had a,
I don't. I don't
oh,
think
my
so.
this guy in town, he's always the guy, and like he's just like he's whatever, he's just a chotch, right? But like I know his wife pretty good, and like we we cross paths pretty regularly, and he's one of my clients at my one job, so I have to kind of like I can't just fucking write him off, right? Because I got to exist in this small community with him.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he's always the guy that comes up and is like, well, we can't just have socialism. And like for context, he's a contractor. He's worked as a contractor, like renovating houses and stuff like that. He's already like on my shit list for that, right? Because he buys up the cheap houses and then renovates them and flips them for, $200,000 profit. And I'm like, I would like a bigger house, but I can't compete with him.
Yeah.
He's in cahoots with a local doctor that is actually given up, and because of what's going on with Kenny and stuff, he's moved to a BC, I think. But this doctor and wife couple, they lived here for 20 some years, and bought up so much real estate and flipped houses, right? Because he's a doctor, he could afford it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And they're South African, and they moved because their wages were getting cut. So they left. They still own a ton of property in town. They have a huge rental business in town, and this guy works for them doing renovations on their property and flipping houses, and then he gets a cut, right? And I'm like, you're a scab. Like
Fuck. Yeah. You're a leech
you're
on society. Like,
yeah,
fuck you.
you're the worst part of society. You are actively like, and he's like, whatever, they go on holidays and stuff, but like I've talked to his wife. I know what their situation is, right? And it's a lot of like, I gotta look a certain way. But
Right. Right. As people with money often do.
yeah, and but they don't have money, right? They're leveraged so hard trying to keep up to the Joneses that have fucked off
Yeah.
because they're no longer making any money in this community. So they were a doctor and a teacher, but they left because so they took their labor they were contributing to our community, but they're still making money out of it in the form of
Yep.
rent on like a 40 cell townhouse block, right? So
Wow.
like yeah, like I did the math on it. It's like something like $70,000 a month rent they are
Oof.
collecting. And like they've owned it for 15 years. That thing is well and fully paid off by now, right? Like that they
Yeah.
didn't buy it at the bubble, they bought it before, and they've done some
Right.
rentals on it and they've brought it up to snuff, but it's still they're chicken coops, right? They're low income housing, and
Right.
it's high turnover in there. There's always people moving out, and it's high rent and high utilities because they're not putting like lowy windows in. They're just, putting plastic over them to get by. And like, yeah. Uh, so I, he's like, well, you should talk to them and see what they think about what's going on with leftist policies. And I don't give a fuck what they think. Like they're
No.
leeches. They're
Yeah.
literally taking more than they give. And then what they were giving, they took away because they weren't getting paid enough for it. So fuck
Yeah.
them. I don't care what
Yeah.
they think. Like they were nice enough people, but like no, I don't really have a use for the landlord class, it turns out. Like we
No,
should
that's
squat
right.
in your houses. Sorry, but why do you get to own all the property? What value are you bringing to society just by owning something? There's another guy that owns half a Main Street, and like stores are closing all the time and people are like, you have to support small business. No, landlords need to give people property. If you
Yeah.
have a business in there, it becomes yours, and the landlord can't hike the rent up because it's 2021 now, like fuck that. That's bullshit, guys.
Yeah. No, I, this is, I have a lot of friends in town who are less left than I am. Mm-hmm. And this is one of those points where we diverge is like, I don't, like you say, like landlords, no, we can't have them. Mm-hmm. We recently had one of our politicians here. He flew to California to sell a house he owned down there. Mm-hmm. And I said, well, fuck him. Why does he get to fucking even own a second house? Like, fuck that guy.
Yeah. And he was bitching that I shouldn't be ashamed of my success. Yes, you should. Yes, you should. You shouldn't be a landlord and a politician. Like, you are literally what your side rallies against. You're the swamp guy, that you're the one, you're the problem, you're the leech on society. What should we do? So if we don't have landlords, what do we just give homeless people houses?
Yes.
Yeah. What if they wreck them? Who fucking cares if they wreck their own house? I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, oh, well, what if they sell crack out of there? Well, it's better than on the street corner, isn't it? And like, I don't care about that either. Like, why do we give a fuck who's smoking crack? It's none of my goddamn business.
We should also be decriminalize crack.
Sometimes, you know what? I've smoked crack before and I understand. It's pretty fucking cool, man. I like drugs. So why, like, I don't care. Like, yeah, well, some people ruin their lives because of drugs and alcohol. Is it because of the drugs and alcohol, or is it because of the laws around the drugs and alcohol that ruin their life? And if they're struggling so badly, why aren't we helping them?
Yeah,
we just throw them to the wolves, and we're like, oh, fuck that guy. He's drunk all the time. And like, to be fair, I do know a guy who is fuck that guy. He's drunk all the time. But I dated him for a long time and he peed my bed all the time. It's so gross. But like, also, what happened to him that he's so broken that he's annihilated all the time? Like, he's a good guy. He's got a decent heart. He's a bit of a sociopath too, but the two can coexist. Like, if you get on the right side of the sociopath, right? Like, he's a hard worker and he's super hot, but like, he picks a bed a lot. That was gross. So fuck that guy. But also, like, why aren't we helping him? Why aren't we doing something for him? Why aren't we giving him the support he needs? Like, yes, he's super toxic masculinity and he won't accept it. But if it was normal for people to get the help they needed when they were struggling, he would accept it because it's normal.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like,
if there was less stigma about like all this stuff, then maybe people would be able to, like, if they could access it and we would normalize it, then of course they're going to get it. And we're not going to have these problems.
we don't shame people. Like, as a person who once broke a big bone, nobody shamed me for that, right? They were like, oh, you need help, let's fix it. And people, they pulled together and came through for me, right? And I was never ashamed of that. Like, I was sad about it, but it's no different. It's no different.
Yep,
and
exactly.
Like, the impact on society, well, me breaking my leg impacted my society, my little household. It changed the dynamic in my home, and my kids had to step up and do some more, and my mom and dad came and stayed here for 3 weeks. I love them so much when they live in Faber and I live here.
Even when you like your parents, it's hard to have them with you for that long.
I like my kids and I gave birth to them, and it's hard to live with them. Like, the girl is a loner and get out of my fucking face. And I don't have a lot of space to begin with, right? So like, there was an impact for that, and I don't know how much it costs to like have a 8-hour surgery with a bunch of rods and pins stuck in your leg, but I can't imagine it was cheap. Like, that rod was titanium. Titanium's expensive, and that surgeon was good at what she did. So that was probably, she made bank on that, and nobody's mad at me for it, like, whatever. Like, it's, well, there might be people that are mad at me, but they just haven't spoken up about it. So good on him. Like, keep your mouth shut, guy. But
we have a strange societal impulse to second guess anybody who has like an invisible thing that we can't see. Like, people who have chronic pain, well, we always say, oh, it's just in their head, they're just making it up. People with mental health issues, oh, well, all they got to do is just walk it off.
They tried just being better yet? No,
Yeah,
no,
that's
I've
right.
never. Oh, that's a good one. I'm
Go
gonna
for
do
a
that
walk in the
next.
woods.
Yeah, I'm gonna do that next. I'm gonna
Yeah,
just be better. Okay, cool.
uh-huh.
Fuck, why didn't I think of that already? If
Why
only.
haven't why haven't all these poor people just tried not being poor?
Yeah. Have you tried working? Fuck, bitch, I got 3 jobs and I'm still poor. Like I worked 3 jobs last year. In December, November and December. November I worked 280 hours at 2 part-time jobs,
Right.
and I was tired. I was so tired, and I made fucking $2,000. Like,
Oof.
and like, yeah, my one. I'm making basically minimum wage, but I sell craft beer. I fill growlers of beer. It's fucking awesome. Like, I love beer, and I get to try all the new stuff, right? But like, it's not a challenging job, and I just basically coerce people into buying beer they're not sure of, and then they love it, and I'm like, I told you.
There you go.
But like, the other one, I provide in-home care for a quadriplegic man on a respite basis for his full-time caregiver, right? So I work a
Okay.
couple weekends a month. She was off for the month, so I had to fill in some of her shifts or whatever. So that's why I worked more. But like, he's quadriplegic, so he cannot do for himself, and I have to stay
Right.
overnight there. And he the government pays him for self-directed care instead of them paying somebody, so he can hire his own people or whatever.
Okay.
um, but they only provide for X amount of hours of care. And they're like, this is how long it takes to do this, and this is how long it takes to do this, and this is how long it takes to do this. So in reality, I'm there 24 hours. Like, I can come and go. I can go work my other job. I can go check on my kids and stuff. But like, they're home overnight, 2 nights, or like every other weekend. And they're fine. They're old enough. And I'm literally like a 5-minute drive away. And um, they've been raised by a mom who's been working her ass off for a long time. So they're pretty latchkey. They're pretty good to do on their own.
Right.
But like, the reality of it is he cannot do for himself. He plays video games, and like, he can text as fast as I can, and I'm a fast texter, so it's really impressive. But he doesn't have full usage of his hands, and he can't. If he fell out of his chair, that's where he would be until I could get him back into it or something. Not that he's going to, right? But like,
Right.
he cannot do. He can't make himself. He can feed himself, but he can't make himself supper because his hands don't work. And they're like, yeah, well, this is 6 hours worth of care, and that's all you get, right? So you're there all this time, but they're like, well, you're quadriplegic, so you don't have to do anything. You basically just have to go to the bathroom and have a shower and get in and out of bed and eat 3 times a day, and that's all they provide for.
Oh, geez.
Well, like, it's and it's a good job. Like, we play. He's got a little Mustang that we like work on all the time, which I fucking love. Like,
Nice.
let's do the things, and we go for drives and stuff, and like, it's cool. Like, we have fun together. We make all sorts of crafts and stuff. He calls them projects, but they're crafts. That's all they are. And like, it's cool. I've learned so much working for him. He builds his own accessible video game controllers, like
Oh,
Xbox
nice.
controllers and stuff. It's super cool. Like, it
Wow.
never would have even occurred to me that you can do that. But what else is he going to do all day, right? So he games, and um, he's way better than I am too. But I only have like a year of gaming under my belt, so whatever. I'm just a button masher that yells, right? He
Yeah.
actually has
Yeah.
strategy and knows what he's doing. But like, I've learned a lot of really cool things from him,
That's awesome.
and I've totally lost the thread. I don't remember what I was talking about now.
That's all right.
Yeah,
No, that's we're coming up pretty close to an hour already anyway, but do you want people to be able to find you on the internet?
no, no, God, I don't want anybody to find me anywhere. I have
Okay.
nothing to talk about. I just post funny memes and also argue with assholes, like, about twice a month. I'm like, well, let's get a little fight, whatever. But
Right.
most of I'm the girl that is all about masks right now, because all I've ever wanted my whole life was to be able to fucking walk around like this.
Yeah.
Can't see me. Like, I put my hood up and my sunglasses on and my mask on, and I am just in my glory. I love it. I love it so much.
Yeah.
I just want to be incognito in the whole world. And
Yeah.
that's I embarrass the shit out of myself all the time because I talk and talk and talk and talk. And then I'm like, I shouldn't have said that. but I did. Yeah. You
No,
usually
that
work
sounds
out for
good.
me. Yeah.
I like the mask thing too. Like I always thought like it was the conservatives for the longest time, like they wanted to make it illegal to wear masks because if you wore a mask to a protest, then they couldn't identify you. And now like they're like
The ones
railing about
protesting.
yeah, they're the ones protesting, but we're the ones who are pro. Like I guess technically we're still pro mask and they're
Yeah.
still anti-mask, but for different
Really,
reasons.
it's so dumb. Like, I'm sorry, but how do you not feel like a total badass with a mask on? Like, have you ever watched a superhero movie
Right.
or like, uh, like a crime movie? Like, they cover their faces. That's how
That's
they
right.
get away. How are you like, oh, I feel like such a nerd in this disguise. Like, it's a disguise. Come on. Except for you.
You're automatically cooler if you're wearing a mask.
Like, I do not understand what the problem is, you guys. Like, you're hiding in plain sight. You
Yeah,
walked into
that's
a
right.
bank with a mask on your face today. Like, don't you feel like a bad guy? Because I
You
know
could rob
you're a
that
bad
bank
guy.
right now.
I know. I've got a client that comes into my store or whatever, and he's a banker. And we were talking about masks, and I was like, I love it because I could rob a bank right now. Nobody would. He's like, as a banker, I don't like that. That's why I told you that. Because I want you to know that even though you're a nice guy and we talk all the time, I would rob your bank in a heartbeat if I thought I could do it.
Yeah, that's right.
So, I will take all your money. And
think
I know you think that investments are cool and everything, but I think you're a leech, and I would take everything I could if I could, and I would redistribute it to all the poor kids at school.
that's what I like to hear.
Yeah. We didn't really
Right
get
on.
into like feminism or leftist spaces, but whatever.
No, but
Good
this
talk.
it was still a good talk. We'll have to do it again.
Yeah, for sure.
That's all, folks. Thanks for listening. Remember to share this show with your friends and on the social media site that you use the most. Thank you to everyone who supports this show on Patreon. Every dollar I get makes it so that I can spend more time working on this show and the other shows I'm involved in to bring you high quality content. If you want to contribute, you can do that at patreon.com/skepticalleftist, or you can send me money on PayPal at paypal.me/brainstormpodcast. If you can't contribute financially, then a 5-star rating and a review on your podcast app of choice or one of the podcast review sites like Podchaser would be great. If you want to find more from me, then make sure to check out my Linktree at linktree/skepticalcory. You can find all my social media stuff there, as well as links to my other shows, which include Skeptarchy, which is a panel show that I do with some very smart people, From Many People's Strength, which is a podcast about Saskatchewan politics, and The Feminist Family, which I do with my partner. My Twitter is at Hardcore Skeptic, and my Facebook page is The Mind of a Skeptical Leftist, or you can send me a friend request at facebook.com/cjbrainstorm. I accept most friend requests. Thanks for listening, and have a good one.